take the second exit. Keep left. Exit now. At the roundabout, take the first exit. Exit now.
Alright, good afternoon everyone. This is John Tapp with the Volvo VNL 860. That is what I bought in Grand Junction, Colorado. So, we're gonna start with strawberries back in Texas.
Keep right.
And then after that is gonna be the long ride. Before the end of the day. And it won't be too long for the strawberries to
Go straight on.
To get there. And
keep left and then turn left. Turn left.
And we had a bunch of donations that oh sorry. And so let's go for a ride, everyone.
Straight on. Turn right. Get ready to turn left. Turn left. It's all over now. left. speed. turn left. straight on. right. Get ready to turn left. Turn left. Go straight on. Ready to roll. Please mind the speed limit. Caution, please mind the speed limit. Go straight on. Keep left, and then turn left. Turn left.
(90887).
And Sherry says, I enjoy listening and watching to Hello Houston very much. The hosts are great. Thank you, Sherry. Hearts to you. Vanetta says that she gave because she loves and depends on Houston Public Media. Why wait to make your gift? Be like Vanetta. Be like Sherry. It's super easy, whether you do it online or over the phone. The impact is the same. And right now, the impact is tripled. So join us as a new member and know that you are the reason we are here, providing an essential service to our community. Make your gift now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
We've only got 2 minutes left in the triple match. But what I want you to know is if your call comes in, it's included, even if you're not done with the process of talking to them. Or if you started online, it continues as long as the initiation began within the next 2 minutes. We're good. So right now, make that donation and make it ×3 to the impact it has on the station. Houston Public Media has always stayed true to its mission of bringing you independent local journalism and local programs that matter to you. Your support ensures that we can continue to do that for you and for all of Houston, especially now. So do it. HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate or do it on phone. 888-909-0887.
Get ready to turn left.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altai, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at HoustonPublicMedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Holocaust Museum Houston, featuring Growing Up Jewish, a contemporary art exhibit celebrating North America's vibrant Jewish community. Details at hmh.org. Sunny day today. We'll get up to around 87. And tonight's low 67. It's 86. This is your NPR station, KUHF Houston, News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston.
Of engineering and science. Learn more at mathworks.com.
From NPR and WBUR Boston, I'm Scott Tong.
I'm Robin Young. It's here and now. Coming up today, President Trump told the Israeli Knesset that the Middle East is entering an era of eternal peace. Well, at least those held by Hamas were released.
20 courageous hostages are returning to the glorious embrace of their families, and it is glorious.
We'll speak to a man reunited today with his best friend.
Also, as the federal shutdown hits day 13, the Trump administration lays off hundreds of workers and then hires some back. It's confusing.
And what's it like to win a MacArthur Genius Grant? We'll ask a cultural anthropologist studying borders who just won one.
I was shocked, and then I cried. I couldn't understand anything they were telling me.
Coming up here and now.
The news is first.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Nora Rahm. Hamas released the last of the Israeli hostages today who had been held in Gaza since the start of the war more than 2 years ago. It's part of the U.S. brokered ceasefire that also calls for the release of Palestinian prisoners and detainees and the resumption of aid into Gaza. President Trump is about to leave Egypt, where he met with other world leaders on Gaza's future. He said after years of suffering, the war is over.
Together we've achieved what everybody said was impossible. At long last, we have peace in the Middle East, and it's a very simple expression, peace in the Middle East, and we've heard it for many years, but nobody thought it could ever get there, and now we're there.
There are many issues unresolved, including Israel's demand that Hamas disarm and who will govern Gaza after the war. A Tennessee community is grieving after 16 people were killed at a military explosives facility last week. Tony Gonzalez of member station WPLN has more.
The blast occurred at a major employer in rural Humphreys County, where many residents have connections to the victims. That widespread impact is weighing on local Sheriff Chris Davis.
We've already taken plans to prepare to take care of our loved ones and our families even more.
The disaster also evokes painful memories. The county experienced flooding in 2021 that killed 20 people. In a note to families online, one school superintendent said local children have faced more tragedy than most will know in a lifetime, and that they will become a generation that finds ways to help. Officials say they're searching for the cause of the blast to provide closure to families, but that it could take months. For NPR News, I'm Tony Gonzalez in Nashville.
Maine Governor Janet Mills is expected to kick off her candidacy for a U.S. Senate seat tomorrow. NPR's Claudia Brosales reports the Democrats' followers got a preview last week with an accidental release of campaign materials.
Janet Mills will enter a crowded Democratic field of candidates hoping to unseat longtime U.S. Republican Senator Susan Collins. She would be the 9th Democratic candidate to enter the race. The run has been the subject of intense speculation for several months. On Friday, her team accidentally released a campaign launch video and other materials that were later removed from social media. Those same announcements are expected to be officially released on Tuesday. In the preview, Mills said she's on a mission to defeat Collins and help Democrats take back the U.S. Senate. Collins will soon enter her 30th year in her seat. This week, Maine's moderate Republican cast a record 9,750th straight vote in a row. Claudia Gonzalez, NPR News.
You're listening to NPR News in Washington.
Live from the Texas newsroom, I'm Alexandra Hart. A new school to replace Robb Elementary in Uvalde, Texas is complete nearly 3.5 years after a mass shooting that killed 19 students and 2 teachers. Texas Public Radio's Camille Phillips attended the opening ceremony for the school, called Legacy Elementary.
Legacy Elementary is bright, colorful, and full of windows. But those windows are bullet resistant. And even after you're let in the visitor's entrance, you need a key card to access the classrooms. At the center of the school is a courtyard that looks up into a steel 2-story tree with 2 big branches and 19 smaller branches, representing the teachers and students who died in the shooting. Javier Caceres lost his 9-year-old daughter, Jackie, that day.
It is a great school, for these children. Sadly, it takes the lives of our children to make this school.
He says it's a bittersweet day, and he just wishes Jackie could have been one of the children to enjoy the school. I'm Camille Phillips in Uvalde.
2 people died yesterday when a small plane crashed northwest of Fort Worth. As KERA's Bill Ziebel reports, the crash also set several large trucks ablaze.
The twin-engine plane crashed a little after 1:30 p.m. Sunday, according to multiple reports. Witnesses said they heard a loud boom, followed by black smoke billowing from the crash site near North Saginaw Boulevard in the Avondale neighborhood. The plane hit some parked semi-trucks, which caught fire. The Fort Worth Fire Department soon contained that blaze. Tarrant County officials later said 2 people had died when the aircraft went down.
The National Transportation Safety Board is investigating the incident. I'm Alexandra Hart from the Texas Newsroom.
Support for these Texas headlines comes from Texas Mutual Insurance Company, a workers' compensation provider committed to rewarding policyholders who keep their workers safe and losses low. More at texasmutual.com/TXM Advantage.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Capital One, offering their premium travel card, Venture X. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. Details at CapitalOne.com. And listeners like you who donate to this NPR station.
For more local news happening in the Houston area, go to our website, houstonpublicmedia.org. This is News 88.7.
From NPR and WBOR, I'm Scott Tong in Washington, D.C.
I'm Robin Young in Boston. It's Here and Now. Today, family and friends across the border are celebrating. In Gaza, it's Israel's release of nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners being celebrated. We'll hear about Gazan aid elsewhere in the program. In Israel, there's joy in the release by Hamas of all 20 living Israeli hostages, and we start there. 25-year-old Yosef Chaim Ohana was one of those released. Yosef was kidnapped from the Nova Music Festival. His friends, including Daniel Sharabi, left behind, were credited with saving many lives, treating the wounded, and using weapons they found on an Israeli tank to fire at Hamas militants. One of those friends was killed. Well, Daniel Sharabi survived, but it's been tough. He was able to FaceTime with his best friend Yosef Chaim Ohana this morning when Yosef crossed into Israel with other released hostages. Daniel, what happened?
First thing that he told me, he said, I can't believe that you are alive.
He didn't know that you were alive and he couldn't believe it?
He was in captivity by Hamas terrorists, and they hide them from news, from everything, from life, from food.
So, we hadn't thought of that. Of course, he didn't know. Oh, that's a moment, huh?
It's a big thing.
Yeah.
It's a big thing.
What did you tell him?
I was shocked to see another of my friends that was with Nova.
He was shocked to see you all. Can you tell us, what more did he say to you? What more did you say to him?
I told him that we love him and we're going to be here. And we're not going anywhere. Yeah. We're going to have a long way of recovery and we're going to be there. And sorry.
Yeah, you and your friends are going to be there for his recovery. Can you tell me what your sense is? What kind of recovery he needs?
Listen, there is so many Nova survivors that committed suicide. From people from the concert that was Nova Music Festival, committed suicide. People that saw so many things and they got the PTSD and suffered by that. And for us now, when Yosef is home, it's a big thing because now we can start our life there because the party isn't over till he came home. For us, for him, and if we can start heal, it's only after he come back.
So you're saying, it sounds like part of what you want to do is to help your friend Yosef recover mentally too, to make sure he's well mentally.
This is so important because you can survive Nova, you can survive captivity, but sometimes you not survive life. It's much harder. For me, I'm not scared to die, I'm scared not to live. You die once, but you live every day.
Wait, say that again. You die once, but
you live every day.
You live every day. In other words, that day, something inside you was killed, but you still live.
Turn right.
Every day.
Yes.
Yeah.
2 days ago, Nova survivors committed suicide.
2 days ago.
Yesterday, another mom of someone that didn't survive committed suicide too. After October 7, we opened a foundation to have Nova survivors called The Future for the survivors.
Go straight on.
Yes, you and your brother started an organization to help survivors.
Yes.
And you had experience as a combat medic. Yosef was kidnapped, but you were there on the ground. You stayed to try to help people who were really attacked that day. How are you doing?
Now I'm much better, for sure. I can smile. But it's very expected. Disappear. You can heal it. You can learn how to live with that. When a baby start for the first time, he study how to walk. So we study again how to walk in our new life.
Well,
situation now.
Well, I was going to say,
and I will be very grateful if people would hear me now. First of all, will be open to see behind their friends' world. When their friends say something, sometimes you need to look behind it because you don't know what's going on behind it. And more than that, I'm going to ask for help for us. You can Google us and look for a future for the survivors in the wounded and support us with money, with therapists, with doctors. We need you guys. We need you. We're fighting a big battle. And it's not about Jews and non-Jews, it's about humanity. It's about people.
Daniel, have you been able to hug him?
No, not yet.
What is it going to be? What do you expect?
I have no expectation. I don't want to disappoint, but it's going to be a very easy hug because he's not so strong now, probably.
Oh, an easy hug because he's not so strong. But I know you can't wait to deliver it. Daniel Sharabi, his friend Yosef Chaim Ohana, one of the hostages, one of the 20 hostages released today by Hamas. What a day for you, Daniel. Thanks so much for speaking with us.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
On this Indigenous Peoples Day, we look back now at a dark moment in American history. In December 1890, U.S. Army troops killed an estimated 250 to 300 Lakota Sioux men, women, and children. They were on the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota. Congress has called it the Wounded Knee Massacre. After the fighting, 19 U.S. soldiers were awarded the Medal of Honor, a decision that has been hotly debated since. Now, the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, says the soldiers will keep their awards. Joining us is Nick Estes, a Lakota historian, journalist, and author of the book Our History is the Future, Standing Rock versus the Dakota Access Pipeline and the Long Tradition of Indigenous Resistance. Nick, good to talk to you.
Thanks for having me.
As best we know the evidence and the facts, what happened in 1890 at Wounded Knee?
Umpangleshka, or Spotted Elk, who was known as Bigfoot to white people at the time, was effectively surrendering on December 29th, 1890. After fleeing the Standing Rock Agency, Sitting Bull Tadanko Iyotake was assassinated. He was a Lakota leader, a spiritual leader, and a military leader. There was also the ghost dance that was happening in response to this really authoritarian reservation order that had taken children away from their parents, sent them to off-reservation boarding schools, had banned dancing, had banned ceremonies, and the ghost dance was largely in response to that. And because of this revival movement, it struck fear into the heart of white settlers in the region, and they called in the military essentially to crush this movement. And Umpangleshka was incapacitated. He was lying in a horse-drawn wagon the day of the surrender, and shots broke out during the handover of weapons to the military, and 2 massacres happened that day. The first one was over in a matter of minutes, and that happened at the Wounded Knee Creek massacre site, where there's a mass grave today. And then the second massacre happened over the course of hours as the 7th Cavalry chased down the survivors of the initial massacre and executed them, oftentimes when they were fleeing and running away.
Now, Congress, a century later, 1990, passed a measure expressing deep regret about what it called the Wounded Knee Massacre, but it did not revoke the medals of honor given to U.S. soldiers from that day. Under the Biden administration, the Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin ordered a review of those medals, but then in September, under the Trump administration, Secretary Pete Hegseth said the soldiers would keep the medals of honor they were given back then. Here he is in a social media video. Let's listen.
Under my direction, we're making it clear without hesitation that the soldiers who fought in the Battle of Wounded Knee in 1890 will keep their medals. And we're making it clear that they deserve those medals. This decision is now final, and their place in our nation's history is no longer up for debate.
And then
Nick, how do you, I mean, as a historian, how do you kind of understand, process what we just heard?
Turn right.
First of all, there's been a lot of debate around whether this was a massacre, and I think historians in general have concluded that this was a massacre, and obviously Congress has concluded that it was a massacre as well. So how do you award valor, the highest form, the highest medal in the U.S. military, to people who participated in an immoral act? I think that's the larger question. The other question is we haven't seen Lloyd Austin's report, so we don't actually know the contents. All we've gotten from the Secretary of War is a soundbite on social media, and that's not scholarship. That's just politics.
And Nick, you yourself are a citizen of the Lower Brule Sioux tribe, which is part of the Lakota Nation. How are people in your community, including you, reacting to this?
On a personal note, I think it's pretty reprehensible to play political football with a moment of genocide in our history. It's a dark, sad moment for Lakota people. It's been roundly criticized by various tribal governments and leaders, both within our tribes and outside of them. It is also a step backwards in the many decades that we have gone through and struggled to try to get these wrongs at least recognized. That says nothing about justice for the descendants and the victims, but nonetheless, I think it's also a rewriting of history. We're operating in a moment where people are operating on feelings and not facts, and what Lakota people have said for generations, is that our story has remained the same. It's just the change of administrations that seems to rewrite or attempt to rewrite for the political moment, which is not useful. It's not useful for anyone. It's also a disservice to the American public because they need to know what had happened. And I think if they knew what had happened, they would be more sympathetic to righting those historical wrongs.
Nick Estes is a Lakota historian, journalist, and author. Nick, thank you very much.
Thanks so much for having me.
You're listening to Here and Now.
Hundreds of detainees are being held in the rural city of Folkston, Georgia.
This is the largest ICE processing facility in the United States right here.
It's a move that has led to a debate about the ethics of profiting from immigrant detention. We'll hear from residents of Folkston on All Things Considered from NPR News.
It's on today at 3.
Learn something new.
I want to start with how crowds of people can act like fluids.
Yes.
What?
I mean, this is physics, so I love it.
Make a connection.
I have no idea who they voted for. I don't care. This tailgate in particular, everybody's welcome.
Dig a bit deeper. We're often looking for a small secular liturgy for our lives, and poetry can provide that sometimes.
Stay curious with All Things Considered from NPR News.
Weekdays beginning at 3 p.m. on News 88.7.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Hildebrand MBA at UT Austin's McComb School of Business, offering the Weekend MBA at Houston. Masterclass October 16th. Details at texasmbaevents.com. Make it here. Support for Houston Public Media comes from DeCamera, presenting an all-Schubert recital of solo piano and songs with baritone Matthias Gerna and pianist Daniil Trifonov. October 29th at Wortham Center. Tickets at decamera.com.
Funding for Here and Now comes from Made In, makers of cookware found in restaurants around the world, offering a carbon steel griddle for home use, designed for cooking a range of foods, from eggs and bacon to burgers and fish. More at madeincookware.com.
It's Here and Now. National Guard troops are now patrolling streets in downtown Memphis, Tennessee. This as judges have stalled the White House plan to deploy the Guard to Chicago and Portland, Oregon. In Portland, social media personalities are trying to shape and frame the public conversation about a possible deployment. In fact, right-wing influencers are now working with the federal government to promote its message. Eric Newman of Oregon Public Broadcasting reports.
On Tuesday, Benny Johnson, a pro-Trump social media personality from Florida, arrived here.
Yo, what's up? We are on the ground in Portland, Oregon.
Johnson and 3 other social media influencers met with DHS Secretary Kristi Noem and toured the ICE facility protests since June.
The Trump administration is here today. Follow along. The Trump administration ain't going to have any of this. It's going to be a rowdy day.
Standing on the rooftop, Johnson and the other influencers filmed Nome for their millions of viewers online. But it wasn't rowdy. On the street below, around 20 reporters from local and national outlets stood behind yellow caution tape, along with a dozen protesters. It was a sunny fall day in Portland, far from the burning hellscape portrayed online. Still, influencer Nick Sorter warned Nome that she wasn't seeing the real story.
This is absolutely nothing as to what it is at night, though. It's really bad at night. As that sun goes down and it gets totally lawless.
This kind of media access is an example of how the Trump administration is working with right-wing influencers to shape the public's understanding of events. Local media have not been given the same access when they requested it. A.J. Bauer is an assistant professor who studies media activism at the University of Alabama. He says the current Trump administration is working with these influencers to justify the president's actions.
The streamers are actually counter-protesters themselves who are going and documenting the protests that they disagree with. The government is actually working hand in glove with those folks in order to promote the government's message.
Bauer says right-wing influencers don't follow the journalistic norms of balance and independence. Instead, he says, they start out with an ideological vision of the world and then narrate what they see in a way that fits that vision.
The consequences are that we've got two competing visions of reality.
There have been almost nightly protests outside of Portland's ICE facility for months. Since June, the Portland Police Bureau has made at least 47 arrests, and federal officials have arrested dozens more, though not everyone has been charged with a crime. The protests themselves span just 1 or 2 city blocks. But these influencers spin a story that chaos is rampant, and now they're having the biggest impact possible by shaping how President Trump views the protests. They repeated that vision to him at a White House roundtable on Wednesday.
The amazing thing is you look at Portland and you see fires all over the place. You see fights and, just violence.
Oregon officials have rejected the need to send in the National Guard. Matt Tardio is a conservative podcaster who regularly live streams these protests. On a recent night outside the ICE facility, he said he's trying to capture everything that's going on, not just the clashes between protesters and police.
I do know that I've caught some coming up streamers or whatever they were trying to be actually legitimately trying to start problems and having hidden cameramen off to the side trying to capture those problems starting so that they can have their viral clips. That's messed up.
Tardio, who is a veteran, agrees that the online perception is exaggerated.
I can't tell you the amount of times I said, I don't feel the National Guard needs to come out here.
But that hasn't stopped other influencers from repeating the story about a war-ravaged city that gets amplified by Trump officials and repackaged across the conservative media ecosystem. For NPR News, I'm Eric Newman in Portland, Oregon.
This afternoon, on All Things Considered, Argentina's floundering economy and why the Trump administration is bailing out the country. You can hear that story on your local member station or on the NPR app. In Los Angeles, a new generation of classical musicians is emerging. An organization called the Alliance of Black Orchestra Percussionists prepares musicians from all over the country for the world of classical music. It's run by a retired LA Philharmonic musician and 2 other percussionists. Music journalist Beto Arcos introduces us to the group and its budding talent.
It's a late Sunday afternoon, the last big day of the Smithsonian Folklife Festival, held in the nation's capital since 1967. Performing at the festival's main stage is a 19-year-old percussionist from Buena Park, California, who introduces himself.
Hello, my name is Gabriel Harvey, and today I'll be playing Restless by Rich O'Meara.
Gabriel Harvey is one of 7 students called Protégés in a mentorship program of the Alliance of Black Orchestral Percussionists, or ABOP. The organization was co-founded by retired LA Philharmonic percussionist Raynor Carroll 4 years ago. Carroll says their mission is to change the lives of black orchestra players by giving them opportunities to learn and access to instruments.
When they don't know about it, when they don't have the instruments, and you can see in this room we've got
that. Timpani, marimba, xylophone, they don't have access to that. If they do, it's at school for a very limited time. So give them that access so that they can go forward with it. Whether they decide to go all the way and play in an orchestra, that's fine. Ideally, we'd like them to at least be the next generation of mentors to the next generation.
I met Carol at his home in Pasadena, not far from the site of the tragic Altadena fires that consumed thousands of homes last January. Since the founding of the organization, Carol's home serves as the office and studio. He says it's not just the music component that they teach at ABOP.
Because that's like any other conservatory or school, but it's the camaraderie, the mentorship that they learn from not only the mentors, but from each other. And that's the cool part of having them together this amount of time, because normally we're all spread across the country.
Hi, I'm Alexa Clausen, and I'll be playing Pure Imagination from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, arranged for marimba by Alex Stelpa.
Keep right.
22-year-old Alexa Clausen is from Shaker Heights, Ohio. She's been part of ABOP for about a year now. Clausen first heard about ABOP at the Sphinx conference in Detroit in 2023, where she met ABOP founder Raynor Carroll. Sphinx is an organization dedicated to diversity and inclusion in classical music. Clausen says she was thrilled about ABOP's mentorship program supporting black percussionists.
Since I am a black percussionist and a black female percussionist, it's been something that's been very important to me, and so I was really eager to join this group and to be with a bunch of other black percussionists and to have the support from each other and the support from all of our mentors in this group.
One of the mentors is Michael Crusoe, former timpanist of the Seattle Symphony Orchestra and now with the Grand Teton Music Festival in Wyoming. In late July, Crusoe taught a master class on timpani to the 7 proteges at the Beckman Yola Center in Inglewood, home of the LA Phil's Youth Orchestra of Los Angeles. Here's Crusoe explaining how to play timpani in Mozart's Magic Flute Overture to ABOP protege Lyndon Johnson. After the master class, Crusoe commented on the state of classical music education.
For example, when I was in high school, classical music, we went to symphony orchestras as field trips, but when it came to the instrumental music program, there wasn't a lot of interest in the way of classical training. I didn't start private lessons until I was in college with the members of the St. Louis Symphony. So it's just not something that is common, particularly in the inner city. Like I said, a lot of it points to, I think, education as well as opportunities available.
19-year-old Gabriel Harvey says in the mentorship program, he's learned many things he didn't know about the classical music world.
I've learned that there's just a wide variety of music that we have to learn as percussionists, and just a wide variety of music that I like from this classical era and orchestral world. So also just learning the nitty-gritty details about having to be a principal, having to rent a bunch of instruments, all that stuff.
ABOP's mentorship program already has a couple of success stories. One of them is Alexa Clausen, who got prepared at ABOP for a UCLA audition. She got accepted into the master's program with a full scholarship.
Well, I just finished up my undergrad years at Boston Conservatory, and I'm going to be starting my master's program at UCLA. And so I'm hoping to take a few auditions. There's an audition with the LA Phil and with the San Diego Symphony, so I'm hoping to start stepping out into the audition world. And I also want to start moving into more studio work.
ABOP founder Raynor Carroll says it takes years to become a confident professional orchestra musician. Still, he hopes the organization can grow and continue to change the lives of black orchestral percussionists. For Here and Now, I'm Beto Arcos.
Washington after signing a Middle East peace agreement in Egypt with some 20 other world leaders. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declined the invitation because of a Jewish holiday that begins tonight. The peace agreement centers around finalizing an end to the war between Israel and Hamas. This comes as 20 of the last remaining living hostages in Gaza are released to Israel in exchange for nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners. The U.S. brokered truce between Israel and Hamas is the first phase of many more to play out in the months and years ahead. Earlier in the day, President Trump addressed the Knesset, telling Israeli lawmakers their country has nothing left to achieve on the battlefield and must work toward peace in the Middle East after 2 years of war against Hamas and skirmishes with Hezbollah and Iran. Trump also says Palestinians should focus on, quote, building their people up instead of attacking Israel. 3 researchers will share this year's Nobel Prize in Economics Science for their work on how cycles of technological innovation feed economic growth. Joel Moquer of Northwestern University, Peter Howitt of Brown University, and Philippe Aguien of the College of France and the London School of Economics will split the $1.2 million prize money. This is Here and Now.
What does it take to keep a city informed? Not just reporters and microphones. It takes a community willing to show up.
With federal funding gone, Houston Public Media is here because you've decided local news is worth supporting.
Coverage of your schools, your neighborhoods, and your leaders continues because of people like you.
Keep that going. Make your gift today at HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
Want to binge All Creatures Great and Small? Catch up on Nova? Or revisit Ken Burns documentaries? You can with PBS Passport. With a gift of $5 or more per month to Houston Public Media, you'll get access to PBS Passport that lets you watch your favorite programs anytime you want. Support the programs you love and enjoy them on your own schedule with PBS Passport. Make your gift now at HoustonPublicMedia.org/donate.
Funding for Here and Now comes from the listeners of WBUR Boston and your NPR station, and from BetterHelp, committed to supporting mental health through therapy. Clients are matched with one of 30,000 therapists and can communicate via video, chat, or phone at betterhelp.com/public. And the Music Emporium, guitar sellers for more than 55 years, celebrating the enduring presence of music made on the front porch and center stage. You can learn more at themusicemporium.com.
This is the Engines of Our Ingenuity from Houston Public Media News 88.7.
Today we look through some really big telescopes. The University of Houston's College of Engineering presents this series about the machines that make our civilization run and the people whose ingenuity created them. The astronomer George Ellery Hale was born just after the Civil War. In 1892, as a 24-year-old professor at the University of Chicago, he organized the Yerkes Observatory. There he built the largest telescope ever to use a conventional refractor lens. It was over 3 feet in diameter, but it was also doomed to become a dinosaur within a few years because astronomers gave up conventional lenses in favor of focused mirrors after 1900. Hale, however, was no dinosaur. By 1904, he convinced Andrew Carnegie to give him $150,000 to set up the Mount Wilson Observatory in California. Hale was downright greedy for high resolution, and straight away he developed the largest mirror telescope ever built. It was 5 feet in diameter. At first he joyfully cried, "With this we'll record 1 billion stars." But 1918 found him back at Carnegie's doorstep, asking for money to build a new mirror more than 8 feet in diameter. Visit the quiet site along the Mount Wilson rim today, and you'll see that telescope along with a 5-foot one still in use. Hale was now only 50, but his health had begun to fail him. He had to retreat from field work in astronomy, but that didn't stop him from planning, writing, and organizing. In 1916, he founded the National Research Council, and he was now deeply involved in the task of setting America's scientific research agenda. But one more telescope was on Hale's agenda, a really big one this time. Andrew Carnegie was dead by now, but the Rockefellers gave Hale $6 million
17 feet in diameter. That mirror was to become the heart of the Mount Palomar Observatory, also in California. In 1934, the Corning Glass Company tried to make the first rough casting of this 17-foot mirror. They cooked a 50-foot lake of molten glass for 6 days at 2,700 degrees. When they poured it with the press watching, the inside of the mold broke up. 9 months later, they tried again and succeeded. It took 8 more months to cool it down, and grinding it by hand to within a millionth of an inch took years. The story has it that the man who did that job on the 8-foot mirror ended up in a mental institution. Hale died in 1938, and the Mount Palomar telescope was finally finished 10 years later. Until the Russians made a larger one in 1986, it remained the world's grandest optical telescope. Compare its 500-foot focal length with the 8-inch focal length on your long-distance zoom lens. It finally took the new radio telescope to improve on its resolution. We have to be moved by Hale's unmatched vision, his nerve and determination. Just think, over a 56-year period from the age of 24 until 10 years after his death, George Ellery Hale gave us the world's largest telescope not once, but 4 times. I'm John Lienhardt at the University of Houston, where we're interested in the way inventive minds work. A transcript of this Engines of Our Ingenuity episode, number 1461, is online at uh.edu/engines. Additional episodes are available by podcast.
You're listening to News 88.7.
At Marketplace, we help you understand what's going on in the economy and why. There is no topic too large or too small, whether it's the housing market, jobs, interest rates, even the prices we are paying at the grocery store. Our independent journalism is critical in helping you connect the dots and getting the context that you need. So, join me, Kai Risdal, every weekday on Marketplace.
Right, and then exit
Marketplace, weekdays at 6:30 p.m. on News 88.7.
I want to make a movie about this.
The Arts Hour brings you film.
The themes in it are so far ahead of their time.
Books.
The detail is amazing.
Art.
There's all the personal stuff.
Theatre.
Lots of singing and dancing and colours.
Music.
The dance floor is made for dancing.
And everything in between.
I want it to be exciting.
That's the Arts Hour with me, Nikki Beatty.
I really identified with it.
From the BBC.
The Arts Hour, Friday nights at 9 on News 88.7. Support for Houston Public Media comes from Terry Bryant Accident and Injury Law, sponsor of Hispanic Heritage Moments, committed to helping Houston injury victims get justice since 1985. Details at terrybryant.com. Support comes from the Dan L. Duncan Comprehensive Cancer Center at Baylor's St. Luke's Medical Center, offering comprehensive cancer care that is compassionate, personalized, and driven by clinical research. More at stlukeshealth.org/cancer.
Now comes from the listeners of WBUR Boston, where the program is produced, and your NPR station, and Rhodes Scholar, celebrating 50 years of transformative learning adventures for adults in over 100 countries. Learn more at rhodesscholar.org/explore. And City Space Productions, WBUR's creative studio for custom podcasts that tell a brand's story. To ignite engagement, reach new audiences, or become a thought leader, WBUR.org/creative studio.
From NPR and WBUR, I'm Scott Tong in Washington, D.C.
I'm Robin Young in Boston. It's here and now. Brown University cultural anthropologist and professor Yewa Yusanite can now add genius to her title. Last week, she was one of the MacArthur Genius Award winners for her work in exploring the political and moral ambiguities of border regions. Now, listeners might remember one example, her 2024 book, Exit Wounds, which revealed that a huge percentage of the gun violence in Mexico is produced by guns that flow freely from the U.S. We spoke to her about a year ago about how that gun violence then sent Mexicans fleeing in the other direction.
When we talk about border security and we talk about migration and refugee crisis, we forget that so many people wouldn't be coming to our southern border to seek safety if it wasn't for very much unregulated, widely open flow of guns south.
So what border issues might Yeva Yosemite take up next? And Yeva joins us in the studio. We can say we knew you when. Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
What happened in that moment when you got that call?
Well, at first I didn't pick up because who picks up calls from numbers you don't know? And then they called again. I was shocked, and then I cried. I couldn't understand anything they were telling me. It was really gratifying and overwhelming.
Well, we want to learn a little bit more about this person who has been picked, because some of our listeners will remember the conversation you had with our former colleague, Deepa Fernandez, but others need to meet you. So, you are originally from Lithuania, a former Soviet or Socialist republic. Is that where your fascination with borders started?
Probably. I was born in the 80s when Lithuania was still under occupation. Then I lived to see the fall of the Berlin Wall, the lifting of the Iron Curtain. So I saw borders disappearing and walls falling. But Lithuania has centuries-old history of expansion and then divisions and occupations. So I never took borders for granted, and I think that inspired my pursuit to try to understand them.
So let's talk about your work. Your first book, Savage Frontier, Making News and Security on the Argentine Border. This was how journalists had to navigate these codes of silence, covering borders in Brazil, Argentina, Paraguay. But then, I want to know more about how you became interested in working on the southern border in the U.S.
Go straight on.
And you embedded yourself as a paramedic. Were you already a paramedic, or did you become a paramedic to do this paramedic work on the border? How did that happen?
I became an EMT at about the same time I got my PhD. When I was here in Massachusetts, I was a volunteer with the Cambridge Fire Department.
Why? Why? You're working at an institution of higher learning and wanting to be at the fire department.
I think what attracted me when I was doing my dissertation back on the border of Argentina, Brazil, and Paraguay, I got to know the fire department there, and I felt the camaraderie of the firefighter community. And once I came back to the U.S. to write my dissertation, I was really questioning whether I want to be an academic, whether I want to be an anthropologist.
Wow. So as an anthropologist, though, by nature, it sounds like, it's not you were going to be one, you already were one, you wanted to join a fire department, and you became an EMT, and now you go to the southern border. Why did you go there? What did you think you were going to find?
I wanted to see what it is like for people whose families are actually split up by the border, who cross every day for work or for school, and emergency responders, both in southern U.S. and northern Mexico. How do they deal with fires that don't know any political jurisdictions or other hazardous materials emergencies, as well as a lot of people who are getting injured when they try to get into the United States?
Well, let's talk about that, because working on the southern border in the U.S. as a paramedic led to the book Threshold: Emergency Responders on the U.S.-Mexico Border. Fascinating. But you took one thread of that work and it led to your third book. Talk about that. You just said people getting injured coming into the United States. Talk more about what you discovered.
I met a lot of people who would break a leg or would be extremely dehydrated crossing the border, so they were injured trying to get into the United States. But then when I began talking to them, they were telling me stories of how they were fleeing. They were fleeing gang violence, they were fleeing extortion, kidnappings, disappearances of the family members, threats. And then I made the connection that this violence they were fleeing was actually produced by guns that are made and sold in the United States. So that's how I began kind of following the guns south and try to understand what role do they play in this migration and refugee, what we call crisis, and what that also has to do with the availability of drugs and drug trafficking and the big profits that organized crime groups are making.
That book, it's one of the most bitterly exquisite titles. It's called Exit Wounds: How America's Guns Fuel Violence Across the Border. In other words, these are guns that are exiting the U.S. Just give us the numbers, just a few things that you discovered about guns from the U.S. and Mexico.
Mexico has 2 gun stores and very, very strict gun laws. Just Texas and Arizona has over 10,000 licensed gun dealerships. So over 70 and closer to 80% of all firearms recovered in crime scenes in Mexico, they are traced to sources in the United States. They were originally sold here and then smuggled across the border.
I'm just curious how the firefighter culture was it Arizona or was it Southern Arizona? When you're a firefighter, you have to be one of the group. Everybody's lives depends on everybody else. You're nodding. How did they feel about an anthropologist from Brown University and Lithuania and Cambridge joining the ranks as an EMT? Did you feel embraced?
I did. I think as an immigrant, this community is Mexican-American. Some of them have dual citizenship. Some of them were born in Mexico and moved to the U.S. So they appreciated me in ways that I did not feel accepted in Massachusetts or Florida in fire departments where I volunteered. I felt much better in Arizona.
Interesting. I mean, it is so interesting. I hope one of the things that people take, especially young women, from hearing your story is this is anthropology, people. It can be pretty adventurous. So you have said it's an $800,000 award.
Get ready to turn
MacArthur people. You've said you already know what you want to spend it on, which is what?
Well, I definitely want to give some back to the organizations I worked with on the border who are treating injured migrants. But I'm also in the midst of doing a new project which looks at justice and whether justice can be exported and how we think about extraditing members of organized crime groups from Mexico to serve their prison sentences in the U.S. What happens to the crimes they committed in Mexico? Because once these organized crime leaders are in the U.S., they are only prosecuted for drug trafficking conspiracies, money laundering conspiracies, so not violent crimes in Mexico. So how can we have justice when we have these complex transnational organized crime? Like, which country gets to decide what is justice and for whom?
The most high-profile example of this is